Hi there, it's Cathy Cena with Tri-Cities Community Television, and we're here at the Pine Tree location of the Coquitlam Library, and we would like to thank them for the donation of this space today. Our guest today is someone who's known in the Tri-Cities. It is Matt Djonlic, our city councillor right here. I'm going to put my glasses on because we have some serious questions for you today, Matt. May I call you Matt or Councillor Djonlic? Matt's fine. Yes. No. So you've been doing a lot. You're almost born and bred here. You've gone to school at Terry Fox. You have done so many different things with regards to you're getting your education at SFU. You sit on several committees, housing, mental health, finance. 8 years just at the Coquitlam Library. I saw your picture up at Poirier yesterday, and you are a member of the Evergreen Line and Public Art Task Force. Let's see what else. The Sheriff Food Bank, you volunteered there, and also at the Coquitlam Legion. And yeah, there's like so many things that you're doing. And then you have your big job of being a city councillor. And we're just going to dive right in if that's okay with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So what are some of the things, some of the challenges that Coquitlam's facing right now, Matt?
That is a great question, and I think we're faced with a number of, I would say, real big changes that are happening with the city, and starting with, and it's in the community right now. We're doing some consultation around what's called reviewing our official community plan.
Yes.
You've probably seen in the news over the last year or so, the provincial government has introduced some pretty seismic shifts to how housing is approved, where density can go, and that has meant a big change in certain areas of our community. We have around our SkyTrain stations, we've been very proactive with rezoning those for some of the towers, because of course you want to have your high density, your commercial area around your SkyTrain line. But it also opened up the door to having fourplexes across the entire city. And we've got some parts of the city where I can tell you the pipes are a lot older and not ready for fourplexes. We also saw that the province's changes put some pretty high density in areas that we weren't planning for density. So areas where we might have looked at more townhouses, maybe some duplexes. And now we need to look at and go consult with the community about where do those areas, those types of housing go. We still need townhouses, we need the duplexes. We need those kinds of family-oriented housing somewhere in the community. So now that the province has effectively pushed it out of where we had planned it, where do we move it? And that's where we're looking at some of our corridors that have a lot more bus service, areas that are around the transit circles you might have seen in the news or as part of the city's consulting about where some of this more, I'll say, gentle density can go. So it's a really big change. It means no more public hearings unless the project is actually changing the OCP, which certainly makes it more challenging, I think, for us city councillors, because we don't get to hear from the community about when a development might be coming into their neighborhood. And I think that was a pretty useful process for us in Coquitlam, because it was an opportunity to hear from the community their concerns, and also I think in a lot of cases to alleviate their concerns too. Oftentimes in my experience, sometimes it just takes asking some questions, answering, getting input from the community helps to bring people along, because change has an impact on our neighborhoods, and we want to make sure that people are bought into that, and that we don't end up dividing the community because of it.
Right, exactly. We don't want division, not at all. What would you say that some of your top priorities are for the city? And then we'll go into talking about the residents of Port Moody and how you're helping them and how they can get engaged in different projects like this.
Yeah, so you touched on earlier, I was a member of the Coquitlam Public Library Board for a total of 10 years actually, because I was the council rep up until recently.
That on your profile.
It should be updated soon, one of the things I've been really passionate about is getting more libraries to Coquitlam. So we have under architectural plans right now, our Burke Mountain Rec Center, which is going to include another library. And we're working on, certainly want to see a little more down the road, but a Coquitlam Library. We have a lot of density going to the Coquitlam area. We now have the YMCA, so there's some of that recreational piece, but it would be good to see a library in that area as well. I'm also the chair of our accessibility committee.
Yes.
We're taking on our first accessibility strategy for the city.
Okay.
So I just came earlier today from a meeting with the Tri-City Seniors Network, hearing from them about some of their concerns, just about how do we make sure that the city's accessible for seniors, for people with mobility issues, for people who might be neurodivergent. I'd love to see us incorporate more of that into how we do development, how we plan our community, as well as looking at maybe even some hiring practices. Where are there opportunities for the city, especially in our recreation departments, to bring on and some employees who maybe are more neurodivergent, working with working with the provincial government, working with not-for-profits to give those opportunities to the community.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we've heard from the province, all of the cities have, of course. I don't believe that your city was one of the ones that was on the radar with development and building. And I want to get into housing and affordability next. Where do you see that going? I know it's not so much a municipal issue, but what are your thoughts on affordability? I mean, you live here in Coquitlam, just in town center, right? And it must be a challenge and difficult for young people to purchase and even rent right now. So where do you see that going?
I'll tell you, I'm the youngest member of our council, and it certainly is a challenge. We were lucky to, I'll even tell the story of, I was a renter up until relatively recently. Landlord sold our place. We had to move. We luckily, were able to, at that point, had scraped together enough money for the down payment.
Right.
But now have a mortgage that is just, I don't know if we'll ever pay it off. Certainly not on a city councillor salary.
Right.
And feeling those cost of living challenges, right? And I think it is really the number one thing I hear from people. And, a lot of it is certainly out of the city's control. Immigration has been one of the challenges, just where, I'm from an immigrant family. We're a country of immigrants. We welcome that. But certainly with so many newcomers coming to Metro Vancouver, it has put a significant challenge. And Coquitlam is one of those cities then within Metro Vancouver, which has taken on quite a big population boom relative to the other Tri-Cities.
Yes.
That certainly leads to us having to keep up pace with amenities. That's a challenge. It affects the cost of living. But we do have something of a role. We recently did look at some cost of living measures to maybe help out families. We're introducing more extending what was our summer pass program for kids to now be for the winter break, to be for any spring break as well. So,
but what about if developers are coming in and they're proposing a project? Are you doing anything within those projects? I know that when I was quite involved in Port Moody, these projects needed to have affordability, needed to have green space, needed to have art projects.
And a lot of that has significantly changed with the provincial housing rules. Okay. I think there is an opportunity, though. We are having to rebuild how that worked. We had previously had rules around where, to simplify it, the higher a tower goes, the more affordable housing they have to provide.
Right.
One of the things I'm really proud of that we did is we did increase the definition of below market housing to go from 20% below rent to now 25%.
Okay.
So that's it doesn't sound like a lot, but 5% less rent a month for people that might be having more challenges, and over the course of a year, that's pretty significant savings. I think with some of the ways that we're looking at how we approve housing, and that as that changes, that we have some things in the works that I think could allow for us to bring on more affordable housing. How towers get approved is different now, but the province has given us some new tools, I think, where we might be able to turn the dial a little more on getting more from developers.
Okay,
on that front.
That's good. That's good. So we talked.
Can I just say one other thing on that too? We also did just put forward 2 pieces of city land for affordable seniors housing.
Oh, good.
So one is in Laval Square next to the Millardville Community Center, and another is going to be just off Sydney, where the old Lions Care, just off Austin used to be. So
good.
I think those are going to be really good for the community too.
We cannot forget our seniors.
Nope.
So we talked about some challenges and affordability and your priorities, but tell me about some projects or policies that you're excited about.
Yeah, I touched the accessibility strategy is one near and dear to me. I'm really excited by that. One thing I'm really proud of, and you can see it outside of the library here, is the new murals that you're seeing everywhere.
Yes, okay.
So great. I'm a stickler for...
Are you guys trying to be the city of the art now?
I think we might be the city of... I have to say, I think we are the city of the arts now.
2.0? More than Port Moody?
We've got the new mural just outside City Hall that you've seen.
Yes.
We have one at the Town Center Park Community Center. We have this giant new mural with the library, and there's going to be some great changes coming here to the City Center Library in terms of a new coat of paint that's going to match the mural. We're looking at significantly more murals throughout the city too. We're getting grants for them. We're working with community partners like United Way.
Art is one of your things. Art and
I think it's
environment. You're very into the environment.
Well, the art piece really adds vibrancy to the community.
It does,
and I do see it really as it's an economic piece too. If you make a vibrant neighborhood that people that really stands out, you're going to attract businesses to it. Like there is an economic spin-off to investing in arts, and we hadn't really been doing too much of it, but we've really now turned the dial on it, ramped it up, and we're painting a lot of walls in the city.
That's really good. That's really good. Now, we're not in an election year yet, just kind of on the outside of that, little over a year or so to go within your term. But how are you engaging the residents of Coquitlam and making sure that their voices are heard? What are you doing that maybe would be different from other councillors?
Well, I mean, I certainly appreciate these opportunities here with Tri-Cities TV. I mean, we're losing so much of our local media, and with the newspaper, the physical newspaper at least gone, I really worry about what that's going to mean for civic engagement. I think that was a massive blow to the community. So having opportunities like this is important. I think it's also community events, right? Like any chance I get to get out, and I know my colleagues, they're all the same too. Like we like to get out to events, engage with the community. It's where you hear things, it's where people approach you. Social media, I know it gets a lot of hype around it, but I think it is more of an echo chamber.
Do you get emails from people, all the time asking questions and things like that?
Yep.
And then what's your response to them? Like in terms of, do you feel that there's enough people in Coquitlam that are engaged, with their communities? Because, as they say, if you're not voting, don't complain. If you want to see a change and you're not doing anything about it, there's no point to complain again, right? Because there are those people with their rah-rahs, but they don't go to a council meeting, they don't talk to people, they don't try to make change happen. So how do you get them involved?
I'm just on that. I mean, it's so interesting. We pay so much attention to the federal government, and important for sure, but frankly, it's a world away. The federal government disappeared. It would take you a few days to notice. The province disappeared, maybe a day. If local government disappeared, these lights would shut off, your toilet wouldn't flush, the sinks wouldn't be running. All the stuff you really rely on from day to day that might not be the as exciting and maybe as contentious, but critical things. And so I think it's just getting out in the community and residents reach out. Our job is as councillors, and I think all of us are like this, that we're not the experts sometimes, and a lot of our role is just helping people to navigate City Hall and to put them in touch with the professional staff, right? If it's an engineering issue someone's having or a recreation issue, oftentimes it's just connecting them with the right people to help resolve a problem.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. What are the city's plans regarding transportation and infrastructure?
Yes, we're investing in a little bit more micromobility now. So you're seeing over on Guildford, we're introducing a bike lane, changing some of the intersection at Pine Tree and Guildford.
Sorry, is that what micromobility means? Just
the bike lanes,
different forms of transportation.
Yeah, you see the scooters.
Not like a vehicle, right? Yeah, the scooters are everywhere, and they're all fallen over. Like I just feel very like
some changes coming on that. You'll
messy.
see.
Yes, it's a little messy.
Yeah, we've worked with the company to make some changes, and I happen to agree that perhaps a system where they are parked in designated areas would be better. So stay tuned on that.
Yes, okay.
But with transit, it certainly, TransLink is really, really stretched right now. And I know folks hear that a lot in the news. They have a big they have structural deficit that we need to show. And this goes back to on the transit piece and community planning. We need to focus our density in areas to be able to get the transit investment, because we are in such competition with all of the other cities in Metro Vancouver that to get another bus service, TransLink is looking to see that the people are there. So how do we create transit nodes to have more of that bus network that feeds into SkyTrains? That's what we're looking at. And looking at areas where we can have those bike lanes. We're seeing more people use e-bikes. It's increasing. During the election, I was shocked at the amount of people that were telling me that they cycle now. They're looking for safer opportunities to do it. And so we're starting to look at areas where having those bike lanes, those kind of more separated micromobility lanes make a lot of sense. Doing one on Nelson, the one on Guildford. So we're starting to see some more of that.
That's great. That's great. Now, they say that small businesses are the cornerstone of our existence, really. Shop local, try local, all of the local things that are going on. What's the city doing for small businesses and economic development?
We've really shifted gears on the economic development side, really invested in that new division. We have a great new economic development manager. I think we're looking at some ways about how do we make more of a downtown core that's livable and activated. Street activation has been one of our challenges, and one of the reasons is that we don't, like, just to be blunt, we don't have the office space. So we're seeing the businesses that should be on that second, third story office are now taking up the ground level, and they're not often the restaurants, the places that would create a lot of vibrancy, a little more on the, though important, our dentists, that that should be on the office space, maybe above. So we're looking at ways now to, one, start to require more office space. We're seeing our first dedicated office tower in Coquitlam is being built right on Glen Drive. You've probably seen it under construction.
Yes.
Sold out immediately. So the demand is there.
Wow.
Like, we know the demand is there. Businesses want to come to Coquitlam. I think we have a great opportunity because you look at a map of Metro Vancouver, we're right in the middle. So we're bringing on some more office space in some of our around SkyTrains, looking at how we can ensure that we're getting the right kind of businesses on the street level, and also industrial space is a big one. We have some new industrial coming up in the Fraser Mills area, which is great. But
so Coquitlam is open for business. You're looking for people to come on in.
Come to Coquitlam.
Is it hard to find space? You know, like you said, this one office-only building, but is it hard to lease space? I think some of the Tri-Cities, it is very difficult.
It's one of the biggest challenges for businesses. Our commercial vacancy rate is 0%.
Okay.
It is a real challenge because we are still very much a suburb that is developing its commercial areas. So we need more of it. We're requiring of higher density areas that bottom level needs to be commercial. So for me, it's really a supply piece too. We need to supply the actual commercial space, because if there's no commercial space, you only have a few businesses that compete, and they're driving up the rent.
Right, exactly. A question that I have, and you may or may not want to answer it, but we talked a little bit about the next coming year and so forth, and you come out of working for a politician yourself, I believe, right? And so what are your plans for the future, and is running again in the next election something that you're going to do?
I love city council, so yes. So
that leads to, because if you said no, my next question would be a moot point. So what do you see happening in Coquitlam in the next 10 years? You're the youngest guy on council. You have a lot of passion. I can see that in what you're sharing with me right now. But where do you see the city going in 10 years?
I think ever since SkyTrain came, that was a fork in the road for the city's development. That we are seeing now more people coming here. We're becoming an incredibly diverse city. We're becoming more urban. So how do we balance these two? Because Coquitlam, it still is a place where you want families to come, you want them to raise their kids. We need the schools, we need all those pieces, the nature piece. I've always felt that Coquitlam could be a community, a little bit of the Goldilocks community, I like to say, that it can have the nature, it can have the suburban area, and it can have the urban area. Where I think you find with a lot of other communities, you're having to choose, where we actually have that chance to check all those boxes. We're opening up some of the regional parks on Coquitlam's northern borders, which are going to be amazing for exploring. So, we have Mundy Park, but we're going to have Pinecone Burke. That's going to be amazing. We have Minnetonka Regional Park. Exactly. So you can do so much locally, bringing more businesses here. People in the Lower Mainland, I believe, are finally starting to discover Coquitlam. Our events coming here. We have more events that want to come and have events at Lafarge Lake.
I was going to ask you what
ever before.
What are is there going to be more festivals and events happening and things like that throughout the years? Is that what you're hoping?
I think Town Center Park is just it's almost oversubscribed.
It really is.
So we're now talking about ways, how do we get more events at some of our other parks? We still have Blue Mountain Park, so we're looking at some changes at Blue Mountain Park to renovate it, to make sure that there could be more concerts maybe at a place like that. Mackin Park is always busy, so we're going to continue to invest in our parks. We want to bring events here. We want to make this a really vibrant community where people can live, work, play, and we're getting close to some of those. The work piece we need to work on more, which goes back to having more commercial areas, but we are in such a strategic position, I think, given where we're situated geographically, given that we now have SkyTrains, given that our landmass is quite big, right? We have a lot of, we have the space to have it all, to have the single family home areas, the townhouse areas, the urban areas.
You sound really proud to be part of this growth.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Living here, it's all in your own backyard. What would you say some of your most rewarding moments have been the last few years on council?
Yeah, I think going back to some of our changes to our affordable housing pieces, the city jumping in to help save the Tri-Branch Co-op on Johnson from being sold off.
Oh my gosh!
And it was a small thing, but it was very touching. I was very proud that we started raising the pride flag at City Hall, and to hear from a staffer who, hearing from his manager that he feels more comfortable talking about his husband for the first time, and that was a very rewarding thing. And so there's some small things and some big things, and very proud of those.
That's fantastic. Is there anything else you'd like our viewers to know about what's going on?
I think we have a great city. There's, stay engaged. We want to hear from you. I'll tell you, we're a city of 160,000 people, so
and growing.
And there's a lot of different opinions. And I don't have all the answers. Council doesn't have all the answers. So we want to hear from you about how you also see your community. Because
and where can people, give you some feedback?
Follow me on Facebook or I guess X. Don't go on there as much, trying not to, but certainly Facebook at Matt Djonlic on my page or personal profile, or email me at mdjonlic@coquitlam.ca.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
We're talking to Councillor Djonlic today. He's talked about a lot of things Coquitlam, and he sounds like a very passionate city councillor, and I think there's more to come from him. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I'm Cathy Cena with Tri-Cities Community TV.